Good morning. This is Tempo Afric TV's Beyond the Headline program, and I'm your host, Petros Haile. Today, our guest is KABBA. KABBA is a friend, a long-time friend, and he's also an artist and an author of a book called Bridge Across the Atlantic. Am I right?
Yes, you are right.
Okay. Welcome, Ibe, to the show.
It's a pleasure.
And the reason for this show is Ibe's brother, Ali KABBA, is a presidential candidate for Sierra Leone, representing SLPP, one of the candidates for the SLPP. And I got to read a little bit about his campaign, and I was very much impressed.
Thank you.
Unlike many other African candidates, his style and his deliverance is different from many others. So we have enough time to talk about it, but as an introduction, I'll just like to quote one of his message, which is, his name is again Ali KABBA. I'll go back to his bio a little bit down the show. He's a presidential candidate for SLPP. He said, "A great leader is one who has a vision to take a country to a place it has not been before. One who dreams of bringing about transformational change to the people. A change that has been long waited, a change for good that goes beyond cosmetic surgery and drops in an ocean." Ali KABBA is a member of SLPP, which is Sierra Leone's People's Party, determined to take SLPP back to the State House with solid majority in Parliament. Ibe, take it from here. Who is Ali KABBA?
Thank you first for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. Yes, so Ali KABBA is my brother, and he's currently in Freetown. Basically under house arrest for all intent and purpose, and for what we believe is just a political witch hunting, and because he's one of the candidates for the coming election in 2017 in the country, and one of the flag bearer aspirant for the SLPP party that's challenging the current ruling party of the APC under the leadership of President Ernest Bai Koroma. And he's been very vocal about all the things that are going wrong with the country, because he believes that Sierra Leoneans deserve better than they are getting under the current administration. So that's what he's fighting for in so many ways, and that's why he's basically, in the situations that he's currently in.
Okay. As I said earlier, his style is different. He's straightforward, unlike other African leaders, wherever there is democracy and multi-party system. And what brought that? Is it family tradition?
No, so he's been here in the U.S. for about over 25 years, living in Chicago. And in Chicago, he's a community organizer there as the executive director of the Organization of African, United African Organizations.
Yeah.
You know, he's the executive director there, and that is a grassroots organization that advocates for African immigrants in the Chicago area and the greater Illinois stuff. So his background is that it's, you know, at the grassroots, just speaking for the people that may otherwise the system tends to ignore. So that's where it's coming from. And I think a lot of the time with our politicians back home, they are either, thank God, they used to be coming from the military wing, but that's getting less and less now. But what I think it's the current stuff that's happening nowadays, we are having a political elite in a lot of our countries. And the political elite tends to speak for just like everywhere else, the U.S. included, tends to speak for the minority. And they are a little bit out of touch with the struggles of those on the streets and stuff. And a lot of the time, these political elites in a country that suffers, in countries that suffers from poverty, they tend to not be from that class. They tend to be rich and stuff. So they are not accustomed to, you know, fighting for the people in the sense that speaking to the people, speaking the concerns of the people and stuff. And so that's his background. He's taking sort of that grassroots organization and speaking for the downtrodden. He's taking that to the political arena in Sierra Leone. And so I think that's a little different. I'm not, you know, very up on my political and candidacies all over the continent, but I believe that it is, I will venture to assume that it is a breath of fresh air for the continent, especially for Sierra Leone.
Oh yeah, oh no. To a degree I can vouch for it because I came from a country with democracy is just like totally out of, it's not even on the agenda. But one of the things, like he has some background of activism during a student movement. Do you mind mentioning a little bit about that?
So back in the 80s, he was a college student at Frobe College in Freetown, and I guess you can say that that's where his activism started, if not before. And so he was the student president of the student union there, and they were not happy with the then president and Siaka Stevens' administration. So he led a student protest against some of what they believe was a maltreatment of the student body, and he got into some hot waters with that. You know, who was a authoritarian and dictatorship, and now used to being challenged, especially by some 20-year-old college student and stuff. So he got put in jail, and afterwards he was, for all intent and purpose, exiled from the country. And that's how he found himself in Ghana, Nigeria, and eventually into the United States, and was out of the country for, you know, some 20 years. That during which that the civil war went on, and when peace came back, like a lot of Sierra Leoneans that were stuck outside of the country, but just waiting, hoping that the country will be peaceful enough for us to make a return. He was one of the people that went back and got involved in the politics there, because he's always had his heart for Sierra Leoneans. Again, like I said earlier, is the belief that we deserve better than we're getting. We deserve better than you know, history has thrown at us, and the present is throwing at us, and it's time for change. For change,
yeah. And yeah, he's seen many countries along the way before he came to Chicago. He went to school in Ghana, and then Nigeria.
Yes.
And came here, and he's got his PhD on political science, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's making his education to a good use.
You know, that's what, I guess that's what my family has all been about. Whatever you have, it's not yours.
Okay.
We are all representatives of something, either our family or our country or the world, you know. So whatever you have, you got to bring that to bear for a greater good. And I'm glad and I'm proud of what he's doing.
Yeah, oh yeah. Again, I don't mean to praise him more, but his style is amazing. And I would recommend to anybody to see him speak and deliver his message to the people of Sierra Leone.
Is it? I think what he's trying to do, again, like I said, a lot of unfortunately our politics, or maybe even that's everywhere else, politics is becoming a domain of the rich and stuff. And he's by no means that. He doesn't have millions, and he doesn't have the backing of millions. So if you don't have a lot of money to shake hands, as we do back home sometimes, because you know, on the U.S. Politics is very expensive, but it's almost for the logistic of campaigning.
Yeah,
the money is used for that. It's very expensive. But back home, sometimes part of the money that's needed to run campaigns is to shake hands, you know, slap some people in power on their bellies and stuff, and then people that listens to them, they get those people to vote for you and stuff. He doesn't have money. So what he's really bringing is ideas. It's hoping that the world, the voters are a little bit attuned now and have access to really knowing what their potential leaders are bringing to the table. So he's hoping that it's the right time where somebody, a leader with a vision and you know, some specific ideas on how to change the country can be successful there. So you don't need the money, not necessarily, not a lot, but just the power of your ideas and your vision for the country will be enough to get you to a place where you can bring them to fruition for all the people. Oh. It's in a sense, maybe it's an experiment to see if in fact that is true, that you don't need millions, you don't need to shake hands and all of that, and you will just talk to the people, tell them what you think, tell them what you believe, and hopefully they can take you at your words and give you an opportunity to serve them.
I think it will happen, because his approach,
if not today, that's my hope for, you know, the whole continent and everywhere else. Things are changing. You know, sometimes it's very incremental and it's very slow, but it will happen. And somebody always has to open that door and step in there. And that may not be the person that's successful, but once the door is open, eventually it's going to flood through. You know, so hopefully people, when they, because I believe when they people start getting used to people that are vying for their votes, tell them exactly what it is that they bring to the table. When people start getting used to that, they'll start demanding it. And if the first person is not successful, more people is going to demand that of the second person. And eventually, the best will start winning election instead of the richest or the most connected.
But he's creating awareness. That awareness, I mean, again, the style is different. Usually, like, you know, when there's a candidate in African politics, either corruption takes over, and, you know, kissing babies and all that stuff. But his message is direct, straightforward, and to the point. In fact, I can compare it to the State of the Union here in the U.S. And that is unusual for many African countries, you know, to conduct their campaign like that.
You know, I think it's probably part of it has to do with the fact that he's been in the U.S. for over 20 years, and he's learned a couple of things. And I think that's what a lot of us that are here, that's what I hope we'll do. We come here, and it's not really, you know, taking everything that the West does and taking it back home. But those things that we observe here, we notice here that are good, taking that back home and putting it to use for our people. And maybe we can put a little African flavor on it, you know, just because, again, not everything exactly the way it works here is probably going to work exactly that way. But there are some great things about the places we've been since we left our home. And when we go home, we got to bring these things there and bring them to bear, to use them to our advantage and for the betterment of our people there. And I believe that's how Africa is going to change, and that's how Africa will be changing. You know? Very true, very true. Yeah, they know. Always the experience that you earn outside of your country. Yeah, take it. Even to the next door neighbor will teach you something different. Exactly. You know, you just got to listen to people, and life is about learning. And when you learn, you got to put it to action. To action, and, very true. I believe that's what he's doing, and that's getting him in some hot waters, unfortunately. But, you know, it'll all work out. Yeah, we'll come to that, especially the controversy that he was in
some times ago. We'll talk about that. Sierra Leone have been described the world's most resilient people. Partly I can see why, because there was so many coups, some of military nature, and in fact in a couple of years there was about 3 or 4 coups at one time, and then it goes to the civil war, you know, the one that the world knew about it. You think that statement is accurate when they say the world?
Definitely, and unfortunately, history has shown this. We are, you know, for us to be where we are today, you have to be resilient. Like you said, we've survived like a lot of other African countries. We've survived colonization. We survived, you know, all the remnants of colonization. Because, you know, when we got our independence in 1961, that was not, you know, you wake up one day and everything that, you know, was bad, it's gone. You know, it's a slow process to progress. And Sierra Leone has seen its share of nightmares, let me put it that way. But still, we are here, and still we are hopeful for the future. And indeed, I guess we are resilient because there is no other way. You know, it's not, you're not just, we're not going to wallow. Definitely, we're not going to die off. So after the coups and the civil war, that was perhaps one of the most vicious the world has ever seen, we survived. Then just as we were getting back on our knees, Ebola came
into the picture
and devastated the country. But I'm glad to say, for the most part, we defeated the scourge too. And there might be some other difficult roads ahead, but just as we've done, we're going to continue winning it all to a place one day when we're going to look back on those days and see them for what they were, just a dark time in our history. And we're going to have some bright days ahead, you know, because
it seems like that. It seems like that. Yeah, I remember the 1991 to 2002, almost for 10 years, Sierra Leone was in disaster.
Yeah,
you know?
that's how I came to be where I am today. And our town, Kwendu, in eastern Sierra Leone, was the first town attacked in that civil war, and we were the first people to leave our home and stuff. And that's how I got to be in the U.S. to basically continue my schooling. That's been done for a while, but I'm still here. That's how it gets. That's how it works out sometime. But
well, that's you know, it was bad at that time, but always bad things turn to good things. So
there's a silver lining to everything.
The silver line, and you are a well-known personality in the Twin Cities. So you're a poet, an author, and yeah, you know, there's some compensation for the bad times. You know, a lot of Africans went through the same process. You know, although Liberia, Sierra Leone tend to be a little more vicious than the other countries, right?
Sorry.
Okay.
We all have, and we all have our dark days, but we all live to see the morning. You know, you see places like Rwanda after all of that, and now Rwanda is one of the shining stories of the continent. Besides, you know, whatever Paul Kagame is up to there. You know, we're not gonna get into that, but that's just the thing. But even despite all of that, we're striving. And I see, when I look across the continent, I'm very hopeful. There's a lot of, you know, hopeful stories going on around the continent. And Sierra Leone is no different. I believe, and I think my brother also believes that it can be better. And I believe that's what a lot of people, and I hope that all opposition think that. It's not necessarily that we've seen some worse days, and today there is peace in the country, and Ebola is mostly defeated and stuff. So we are definitely living better off today than we were just a couple of years ago, and we are definitely better off today than we were 20 or so years ago. But we can do so much more better. We can do so much better, and that's what people should never be satisfied with saying we are better off than we were yesterday when we could have been, twice as better off. You can give credit to where credit is due and not necessarily tying all the success to one person or one party for that matter, but knowing that you can give credit where credit is due, but at the same time we should be able to call each other on the shortcomings that we have. And
the potential is more. So you cannot say enough.
It's just like with my kids and stuff. When they come home, they say, I got B's. I'm like, that's good, but you should have gotten an A. How come you didn't get an A? I might be a strict parent about that, but I really believe that we should always strive for excellence.
Oh yeah, very true. Well, if I take you back a little. Back to history, Siaka Stevens, as dictatorial as he was, but at the same time, some credited him for some good stuff, saying he's the one who worked with the West African nations, with ECOWAS. He's the one who created that union, the MRU, which is Mano River Union between Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. You see a positive thing in him?
He was president for a long time.
Okay.
Even the worst president after nearly about some 20 years. You better have a couple of bullet points under your good column. Otherwise it was just a waste. So he definitely did a good thing, but I find it hard to emphasize on the good of any president that feels like he or she is the only one capable of holding that very important power. It's only his or her vision is the best in the country of millions. After a while, we are all, being president is not easy. And the country, it's in need of ideas, good ideas, new ideas all the time. And after a while, you just got to step down. So any person, any dictator and authoritarian, I find it hard to tap them in the back and congratulate them, regardless of what it is that they are able to achieve. And history has shown that a lot of them, they achieve little. And again, it's going back to that thing, even if they achieve some, but if we had a little, what else could we have achieved with another idea? After a while, we all get tired. That's why, U.S. presidents get old. They go from young, by the time they're out of office, they are old, because it's hard.
I agree. A lot of leaders, they think power is entitlement.
We shouldn't have royalty in Africa, and nobody should be president, especially if if there is a constitution and it gives whatever the constitution dictates. That's good enough. Once upon a time, the country came together and decided that was good enough. After these many years, we need somebody with fresh new ideas, and that's how development goes. So ideas on top of ideas. Otherwise, human beings, we can deplete, good ideas. It's and you gotta, when you get to that limit, you have to recognize it and give somebody a chance to take it to the next level. Otherwise, it just keeps on recycling the same old thing. And then the progress either at best slows down, or it stops, or we start going backwards. And we don't have time for that right now. The world moves too fast for that.
Very true. Well, also the statistics, if you're a leader for 25 years and if the unemployment rate is 80%, then you question the achievement.
Exactly. What have you done when you leave 80-90% of the people behind? It's
very true. To go back to Ali KABBA, he's been accused of bigamy. In fact, this is a word that I just found out recently.
It's kind of funny. A lot of people just, when you say, like, what's that again?
I just checked the dictionary and I said, okay, this is what it means. Is it illegal, or it has been an issue for the presidential campaigns? What is it? Why is it?
So, to be direct, that's sort of what he's currently in some legal trouble in the country, because he's being accused of bigamy. And okay, let's put that down. The funny thing, The funny thing about being accused of bigamy in Sierra Leone is, I'll tell you right now, my own father had 4 wives. So bigamy, to define that first, is just being married to more than one person. And in direct definition is 2 people at the same time. Well, we live in a country that's about 60 or plus % of Muslims. And Islam allows men to have multiple wives. So my very father had 4 wives. I know a lot of people growing up that had multiple wives. The country is full of husbands with multiple wives. So then, how can you accuse somebody of bigamy in such a society? You know? So that's one thing first. That's just the whole, you know, if it was not so serious that it's basically his freedom is in hanging in the wire, it would be funny if it was not so serious. So that's one thing. And but also this law, was put in the books, if not late 19th century, I believe some dates I've seen as about 1911, 1916. So obviously at that time, Sierra Leone was not what Sierra Leone is today. It was under the British colony. So yes, just like the US and Britain, they probably had some laws against bigamy then. And nobody has been accused of this law since then.
Okay.
So if they're going way back in the colonial, you know, fossils and pull this law that for all intent and purpose, it was just, I bet, somebody being lazy without rewriting some of these laws. The book was just in the dust there and nobody expected to go back to it. If they're going way back there, you got to know there is another reason for all of this. So now let's talk about the specifics of the case. So what happened is he was married here for a few years. And unfortunately, the marriage didn't work out. So he was going through the divorce, and it was a long process, you know, as divorces can be sometimes, especially when they are contentious. But for all intent and purpose, the divorce had happened, you know, had been finalized when he went and got married to someone in Sierra Leone, who happened to be a minister in the current administration, you know. So he got married there, and of course, that didn't work out either, shortly thereafter. And from my personal belief is, it's just this woman being vindictive. For whatever reason, felt like she was hurt by him, and she's using her power in the administration to bear upon him. And of course, the administration also seeing that all his political activism that he's been doing, his campaign, calling them out on their misgovernance of the country and the corruption in the country, saw this as an opportunity to silence him, and that's what's going on right now.
It makes sense. The lady is also known as Lady Diana, right?
Lady
She's
Diana.
Rural Development Ministry of some kind of local government position.
No, she's a minister, which is basically in a U.S. term, a secretary, you know, like I think she's a secretary of youth and something like that. I'm not positive. I'm not positive on it, but she's in the government, and she's known to, you know, she has some power, you know, in the government, and basically, and you know how it is back home. Those in power tend to have absolute power, and this is basically. And the thing is, even with the law, with such a case, should be brought by the current, the wife, not the second one, the first one. So she's the one that's not Diana being the. It's basically what I'm saying is, from what I know about this law, even if you're gonna accuse somebody of it, she cannot be the plaintiff. But of course she is, and it's definitely, in fact, it's a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter. It's being treated as that, and currently right now it's going all the way to the High Court, which, as far as I know, the judiciary system there is the Supreme Court for some bigamy case, for some civil case. That's how you'll know that there is an underlying reason for all of this, you know. And it's unfortunate that they're getting away with it, and that just goes to show that although we have democracy in the country, but we have yet to exercise the true nature of democracy, the true nature of freedom for the people. Because again, like I'm saying, those in power tend to have absolute power, even in this new age of democracy in our country.
Okay. But, you know, just like we talked about earlier, knowing the personality, knowing your brother through the video message, it's a major challenge to the central government. It is. And if I had the mentality of a dictator, I would do anything to stop the guy, meaning to discourage him, because he's so popular and his approach to the grassroots is so focused.
And you know, not to cut you off, but you're right. The current government does feel threatened by him, because they are now used to people calling them out on their corruption and on such a loud platform and stuff. So they are now used to being challenged directly on their lack of vision and not being able to deliver to the need of the people. You know, they are now used to that. So having somebody call them out specifically on this loud stage, let me tell you, this is it. So this is, again, it's a civil case.
Okay, yeah.
So when he was first arrested, he's basically been arrested, set on bail, for like 3-4 times since around Christmas of last year. So how can the condition on such a case be that he cannot basically campaign, cannot, you know, congregate with people and stuff?
Very true.
You know, when you look at it, you almost have to laugh. But then again, I'd say it's very serious, because those with power tend to have absolute power, and we are in fear for his life. You know, because
and the judiciary system may take time to clear him from this accusation. So by the time they cleared him, the campaign is hurting. Could
be done, and they will try to do any mechanism they can to try to, you know, derail what he's trying to do for the people of Sierra Leone. And that's very unfortunate, not just for him, our family, but for the people of Sierra Leone, because the people of Sierra Leone deserve better from their leaders. They deserve to have their leaders, their potential leaders, tell them exactly what it is that they would like to do to solve some of the problems of the country, because the country has a lot of problems. So if any leader is telling them, I'm going to solve all your problems within the terms I have, you know, I say I don't think politicians are gods. They're not going to come and just wave a magic wand and end it all. So anybody that tells me that, that's a liar, pants on fire. But at least pick some specific things that you're going to solve to alleviate some of our problems, and that's what he's been able to do. And I think the people of Sierra Leone should demand that of not only the current administration, but anybody that's vying for power. Because if you just let people go in there without telling exactly what they're going to do, when they get there, they're going to do what's in their interest, or in the interest of the few people that are in their circle or stand to benefit from them. And unfortunately, that's not the millions of people that are struggling. That's just the few in their circle, and that's unfair to the people. And this is during voting is when people have the power. And believe we should use it wisely, not only American voters, but voters anywhere. You got to use that wisely and try to put people there that you believe have your best interest at heart. That
represents you, the genuine people. And you're right, just like you said, he arrives in December 16, 2015, called to the court in 21, arrested him on 23rd, and December 31st arrested him again and again. This is just like after he arrived to Sierra Leone from the U.S. This is pure indication of trying to discourage the guy.
It's purely that, and they cannot tell anybody otherwise. It's just trying to put roadblocks in his, trying to restrict his access to the people. But again, you know, he's not the kind of guy that will make that easy for you. So he's using any venue, any vehicle he can, even in his current situation, still trying to connect with the people, telling the people that, you know, he continues to believe what he believes, and he continues to strive to try to alleviate some of the myriad problems that Sierra Leone we suffer in that country. And, you know,
the case is still pending.
It's still pending. They've sent it to the High Court, whatever that means. But we are sitting waiting to see what the High Court says, and hopefully they'll see it for what it is, and hopefully there will be some judicial independence in the country, and they will call it for what it is and just dismiss the case, because it's no case, and even if it's a case, it's not a case that should be treated at this magnitude. And It's basically follow the law that's on the book, not just laws that's dictated from some people in power.
Another thing that impresses me about Ali KABBA is his proposals are very specific. On one of the video that I saw, he has about 10-15 proposals, and from the railway, from the diamond area, the business, and the health system. You know, which he also went to Cuba and realized how effective their health system is all about. So usually you don't find a candidate who can specifically, well, you find them in different places, but from some,
they come few and far in between.
In between, yeah. So that is very effective. Again, I cannot emphasize more that his style. We're gonna put his website address and some other information for people to see. We can learn from his style. We can learn from his professional conduct on approaching to the campaign. So I cannot find my note all the specific project he proposed, but we can.
You see, like I said, you know, the country has a lot of problems. So it's not if you really want to work for the people, you won't be short of ideas on where your efforts should be needed. You know, so. And yes, he has a lot of specific things, because they say you don't have to think hard to come up with problems that need solving in the country, unfortunately. So he has that, and the kind of person he is, even when he got sent to jail, he came out and not speaking about the injustice that's happening to him. It's about the overcrowding nature of the prison systems there. You got the prison is full of people, and I mean, when I say full, it's like packed like sardines. There's no beds in these jails and stuff, and you got people there for the smallest crime just lingering in limbo in the prison system for months and years on end, where their case are not even being decided upon in the court system. So, and again, everywhere you turn, there's basically a problem that needs solving. So, you know, so it's anybody that just wants to help the people should not be short of proposal on how they can help it. Again, like I said, you're not trying to say that you're going to solve every problem of the country, but let's know exactly what you think will give you that. What's that 20% that can give you that 80% of bang for your buck? Again, not all the problem, but there are certain problems. The healthcare system, Ebola. It's a devastating disease and an opportunistic virus, but our health system was nowhere near ready to fight something like that. We need the basic of health system in the country. You know, I'll tell you personally right now, one of my fears when I think about going back home, one of my fears is the health system. If you get a little sickness there, I'm like, I got to keep a plane ticket and passport next to me, you know, so I can get out. And I believe that, you know, from talking to people, that's one of our worst fear, not just Sierra Leone. I think a lot of African countries, we need a better health system that people can, you know, count on. When you're sick, you're not going there, and then without knowing exactly what's wrong with you, they just want to plug you into some water, serum or something like that. And so we need that. And in order for any country to strive economically, you need a good transportation system that can move goods and people around the country. These are basic things that it doesn't have to take any intellectual gymnastic to come up with this. And the fact that we are still having this problem shows the lack of initiative or the lack of vision or somehow inability to deliver on the need of the people by the administration, and not just the current, the previous. You know, there are certain things in this day and age. We need electricity in our countries, and I just don't mean the few people that happen to be lucky enough to live around those in power. You know, the cities, if not all the villages, need electricity. You know, we need good road system to move goods from one corner of the country to the other corner. Farmers should be able, no matter where they are in the country, they should be able to move their goods from their farm to a city, to a place where people, you know, where they can meet buyers and stuff. That's the minimum. We need clean water. We need, you know, so you take care of all of that, sometime the rest will take care of itself almost, man. Because one thing, Sierra Leoneans and a lot of all over Africa is full of entrepreneurs. You just got to take care of this infrastructure stuff, and I believe that Africans will take care of the rest, and Sierra Leoneans are no different.
You see, while you're talking, I just remember some of the things that I read again. I forgot the note, but the entrepreneur, how to integrate the youth. Entrepreneurial businesses, how to make student loan easily available is one of his proposals, and the electricity, energy. He was talking about the example of Ghana, how they did it, and he will do the same thing or similar project in Sierra Leone. He's also talking about the diaspora community, how to get them involved in Sierra Leone. Speaking of the diaspora, can the diaspora community do something to help his campaign in Sierra Leone?
Yes, right now what we're doing first, and I think we should all continue doing, especially those of us in America, because in addition to being a Sierra Leonean citizen, he's also an American citizen. So we need to call on the U.S. government to do all it can to see that the fairness and justice prevail in his case in Sierra Leone. So to see that he's free, and not only, basically free with all kind of obstacles placed in his way, that he's free and totally free to either stay and campaign in Sierra Leone or be able to leave the country and return whenever he wants to. So we set up a change.org petition for that. That's also on his Facebook. The link is on his Facebook page and that will be on the Tempo Africa website too. But in addition, also, like I said, this is a campaign from the grassroots. It's not $1 million campaign. We have a lot of candidates there that either have a deep pocket of their own, or they are surrounded by people with deep pocket. And the thing is, just like the U.S., what's happening here and what Bernie Sanders' campaign is running on is whoever gives you millions expects something back, So it's really trying to get $5, $10 from a lot of people. So we encourage I'll encourage people to visit the website alikabba.com, and that's ALIEKABBA.com, and try to donate $5, $10 and stuff. So we'll, because even though what he's going through it takes money to get the legal representation that he needs, and obviously the campaign itself needs a lot of money to be independent. Needs a lot of money from a lot of people that just care about Sierra Leone and nothing else. Just care about Sierra Leone. So we need a lot of help from that. So I'll encourage everybody to visit alikabba.com and donate what you can, and do what you can to bear pressure on the American government to free a U.S. Help free a U.S. citizen in Sierra Leone right now.
Yeah. On that line, on the second time they arrested him, they took his documents.
Yep.
Including
right now they have his passport and everything, and he's not allowed to leave the country. Not only leave the country, but leave the city of Freetown. That's what I'm saying. For all intent and purpose, he's still in jail, although he's no longer in Patemba Road prison. He's still in jail. And the purpose of that is to restrict his access to the people. I cannot think of any other reason for such a case, for a case as small as bigamy, and it's just using any means they can to try to silence him, and they're going to have to try harder. It's not the type you can silence easily.
He's not campaigning anymore, right?
He's doing it on as much as he's able to. That's why recently even released he released some words and to Sierra Leoneans. He's always speaking to the youth, finding ways to reach them and letting them know that Sierra Leone is for them too, and letting those people that are not used to those in power speaking to them and for them, realize that they deserve to be spoken to, and their needs deserve to be addressed.
I also know that you have a petition that you wrote and people are signing it. Already over 1,500
Yeah,
people signed
and
it.
that's the one on the change.org. I was not actually the one that created
Oh, okay,
it,
I'm
but
sorry.
but yeah, you can also get this on the Facebook page, or which will be put in the link to on Tempo Afric TV.
Yeah, perfect. I think usually it's very difficult for me to endorse a person, to admire a person, but on this account, I was really impressed by your brother and his campaign, his straightforward approach to politics, and his specific project as well. Yeah, and if you have wanted to say a last word. And we're going to do follow-up, by the way. This campaign is starting, and the election is in 2017 and 2018. So we will do a follow-up, but before we finish our program, if you wanted to advise our audience.
I think one thing I would like to, perhaps the reason you like him, because I know you have known you for years, I know your whole energy is for Pan-Africanism, and he is a Pan-African, and he's fighting for Sierra Leone, but also fighting for all Africans, just for the betterment of the continent and the people of the continent as a whole. That's what he spent the last many years doing in the Chicago area, and I believe in Sierra Leone, because that's what we need. That's what we need in Africa. Not for we have huge potential, a huge energy, and in the continent. If we bring it to bear on all our problems, we can solve all our problems. And I believe if he succeeds in being the president of Sierra Leone, he's going to open it to the potential of Africans, not only all over the continent, but in the diaspora too. We have wealth all over this world. And I believe any African leader finds a way to tap into that, can make a huge difference in that country, but not only in that country, on the continent. Our leaders need to find a way to tap all our knowledge, our energy, and our wealth. And when I mean wealth, like you and I, and people that are all over the world finding ways to connect to the continent, but not knowing quite how to yet, and we need leaders in this arena that can show us the way home. And I just don't mean we all pack our bags and go home. You don't necessarily need to be on the ground there to do something impactful for the people there. And I believe, yes, I may be biased, it's my brother, but you know me enough, Petros, that will not be my only reason. I believe there is one of those people that realize the power of Pan-Africanism, and he will bring it to bear in Sierra Leone.
I I vouch for that. I'm usually very critical of people, but his message, his approach should not only be confined to Sierra Leone, but it should go beyond that. I can bluntly say that. Thank you, eBay. On the next program, maybe we'll talk about eBay. eBay has as much influence in the local community as his brother does in Chicago and Sierra Leone. So we'll have that program on the follow-up.
Okay. It'll be my pleasure to come, hang out with you again, always.
Perfect.
I love talking to you, Petros.
Thank you, Ibe. On this note, we end today's program. We'll come up with a different program guests next week. Until then, have a nice one. Thank you.
Yasa Makosa. Amuna Yeye, Amuna Yeye.